it's, there's a lot of folklore behind it. A lot of, it's a very urban kind of legend, I guess, kind of thing. But basically, the way it started, the way I got into it, because I'm actually not the original singer.
Okay.
So, yeah, there was a singer before me named Philip, and he sang in the band from 96 until I joined. I think I want to say it was like the end of 97.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review Podcast. I got a very special guest today. This is Dave Martinez of CLIT45 and the new project that he's doing with dudes from CLIT45, the Templars, Madsen, Before Dawn, and it's something that we're going to talk about here a little bit. But what's up, Dave? How you doing, man?
Really good. Thank you for having me on the show.
Let's go, dude. Heck yeah, man. So let's just jump right in, man. My viewers will probably get really irritated if I don't ask you to give me just a quick rundown of the history of CLIT45. And then I want to hear about your new project because I want that to be a focal point of the conversation today.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I like to also talk about the Fiends, which is my other.
Anything you want to talk about, bro? Hell yeah.
Yeah. Gotta give a shout out. So Clit, wow, that's a fucking story. Well, so first of all, what's cool I wanted to actually mention is that we are going to be playing a reunion show next year. Yeah, that's going to be March of 2025. And that's for the LA Punk Invasion Festival, brought to you by Nacho Corrupted, which is a homeboy of mine and just does really good stuff. So we'll be playing that. I'll get back to that in a minute. But the history of Clit, that's kind of an interesting one. It's, there's a lot of folklore behind it. A lot of, it's a very urban kind of legend, I guess, kind of thing. But basically, the way it started, the way I got into it, because I'm actually not the original singer.
Okay.
So, yeah, there was a singer before me named Philip, and he sang in the band from 96 until I joined. I think I want to say it was like the end of 97, around there. But anyway, so Clit was started in Long Beach in 96, I think in the summer. And at that time, there was a place called the Foothill where we used to all hang out at. We were all, teenage punk rock kids. And this was the only kind of spot that was all ages. And it was, yeah, so it was this guy named Alex, and he actually owns the bar, Alex's Bar in Long Beach. But prior to that, he was running the Foothill. So that was kind of the spot where we all kind of met up on Sunday matinees and got to see some really cool bands, Final Conflict, Naked Aggression, the Casualties first time, like all that stuff. It was all there. US Bombs, Stitches, like any band that kind of would come through would play there. So Philip, and from what I know, Simon and George and Mike O'Brien, they were all the original core of CLIT45. And so the story goes is that one of the guys wanted the band to be called the Clits, and the other guy wanted the band to be called 45s. So that's kind of where the name melded together as CLIT45. Yeah.
Somebody told me it was because of like a Colt 45 malt liquor, and I was like, I don't know.
It kind of is. It was a reference to it because that's what we were drinking, and then it's also
weren't we all?
yeah. It's like loosely based on the exploited or sex and violence, that kind of sort of aspect of it. But so Clit was playing, and I started hanging out at the Foothill and kind of didn't really have any friends at that point in the scene. I just would go to shows by myself a lot, to be honest. And, a lot of LA was really violent back then. So there was a lot of gangs and things like that. And a lot of the shows didn't even end because there was just crazy suicidals and skinhead fights and shit like that. So anyways, one day I show up to the Foothill. I don't remember who was playing, but Clit was playing. And they opened, and I remember thinking that I never wanted to be in a band, but I was like, if I'm going to be in a band, I'm going to sing in that band right there.
Yeah.
I didn't even know those dudes. Yeah. And so after the show, they come up and talk to me like, hey, who are you, man? And I was like, oh, I'm Dave. And we just kind of all became friends. That's how it happened. And then,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then after a while, we used to just, hang out and drink 40s in my backyard, kind of thing. Then one day Philip didn't show up or didn't want to play a backyard party show, and I knew all the songs. So Mike and all of them were like, "Yo, why don't you just sing for us in this backyard garage?" I was like, "Okay," and that's just how it all started for me.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's
Dude.
kind of the history of that, and then we went on to after that. I think '99 was probably when we released our first EP, Broken Glass EP, and I lived in my parents' backyard, and I started a record label,
Nice.
Riot Squad Records, and I pressed that on my own, and then that was '98. Then we went on tour '99, our first tour, and I was the oldest member of the band. I was 20, I think.
Dang.
In fact, we brought our roadie with us from a band called the Assailants. He was 21, so that we could like have somebody buy us beer,
Right. Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds trying to tour would be boring.
Yeah, so what's cool part about it was, it's just like sort of how the scene should be. I was a kid and I didn't know anything about putting out a record. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that this is what I wanted to do with my life, and very influenced by the Stearns Brothers and Youth Brigade and BYO Records, who we later signed with. But
nice.
I would watch that film religiously and be like, yeah, I can do that. Anyways, so we book a tour based on like I would send EPs to like the bands that we like. So straight up, just like I would write a letter like, "Dear the lower class brats, my name is Dave."
That's awesome.
I'm from CLIT45. We should play together. Like to all these bands, like, and we just became friends, and that's how kind of the community grew for us. And since we were just kind of the only band, I guess you would call like street punk, or it was a little bit more political punk back then, but that's how we became friends with the Casualties and Defiance and the Riffs, and like every band that would come through, we were the band that would hang out. And so that's kind of how that all grew, very organically, and kind of the way I think punk should be.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do the same thing with trying to get people to talk on the channel. I'm like, "Hey, buddy, what's up? Been listening to your band for a long time. Just letting you know if you got some time." Yeah. I do too. And like most people are pretty receptive if they ever see the message. That's really the question. Like, did they even see it? Like, if I can't get an email address, it's gonna be a pain, dude. I gotta find. Hopefully, somebody's paying attention to their Instagram or something. But shout out to all the homies that are giving me their time.
I think honestly, just not even in punk rock, but just in music in general, and especially living in LA and traveling, things like that. It's a lot smaller. The music scene is a lot smaller than people think it is, and in this day and age, you can kind of just reach out to anybody, through social media and kind of talk to them that way. But I'll say this myself, growing up in the scene or whatever, is like just I knew Dee Ramone like just by talking, just by like going up, say, "Hey, my name's Dave," and making friends that way. And I think like it's kind of a really cool thing about our underground culture, where we have that community it's actually very, in a way, supportive of even from the artist to the fan, because I don't really see the difference between the two, like in what we do, in punk rock, like and stuff like that. I'm not fucking, Kiss. So it's like, just come say hi, like we're friends, have a beer,
Right. That actually comes up a lot just with people from all over the country that I talk to. They always say the same thing. And we always get to the fact that this is a kind of unique thing to punk, because big metal bands, like you said, you're not Kiss, like big metal bands and big rock bands, they don't typically, they play bigger venues where you don't have access to them.
100%.
I couldn't do this same thing being from Houston if I wasn't in this particular genre, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of the things I'm grateful for. It's pretty awesome.
Totally.
So, okay. How did Before Dawn come about? Tell everybody like who's in the band.
Yeah.
And how did that come about?
So Before Dawn, we started, actively started, let's say, I think our first show was June of last year.
Okay.
But the way that band came together was actually pretty funny. So Perry and I have known each other, for 20 years, long time. I was a huge Templars fan, as a teenager and whatnot. Would go see them play, and we met years ago in San Francisco. And then once CLIT started touring, he would come to our shows. And and things like that. In fact, funny story was we needed a bass player at one time, and I had suggested to Mike, our guitar player, I was like, what about Perry? You know, and he's awesome. He's like, nah, he's too tall, man. Can't, you know, we're kind of short. Like, it's like, nice. But so Perry, you know, amazing dude. And we always just kind of became friends, you know, stood in contact, I guess. Anyways, so I was, let's see, it was December of the year prior, whatever that was, 22. I kind of, before that, I had thought, you know, maybe to start another project, but the Fiends are active, and we were, you know, we had a new record we were pushing and things like that. And I don't, just for, you know, at some point I was like, well, I kind of want to try something different. So I had an idea for this band. I was like, I had the name, like the style, everything, right? And it was gonna, you know, be like, well, I'll get to that. So anyways, I had this idea, and one of my friends, who's Barbara Zampini, with Barbara Ramon, Dee Dee's widow, and her husband Dan is one of my best friends. They invited me to go down to Argentina for Dan's 40th birthday. So before I left to Argentina, I was like, you know what? Before I leave and go hang out with them, I should hit up Perry and like see what he's doing for music. But at the time, I had ran into George, the CLIT drummer, and he also is friends with Perry, or knew him. And he asked me about doing something new. So I was like, cool, like, you know, let me think about it, and I'm going to go down to Argentina and hang out. So anyways, I hit up Perry, and I was like, yo, I'm going to, what are you doing for music right now? And I just found him on Instagram, and he's like, oh, well, you know, Beast Fairies isn't really active. That was his band prior. And kind of looking for something, you know, to do or to jam or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm in Argentina. When I get back, like, let's get some pizza and kind of spit some ideas. But I have an idea, so let's talk about it. I was like, well, where do you live? He's like, oh, I live in Highland Park. So this is like an area north of Dodger Stadium.
Okay.
I was like, I live in Highland Park.
Nice.
Like, where in Highland Park do you live? He's like, oh, by York and Fig. I was like, I live by York and Fig. So like,
that's awesome.
We're like neighbors this whole time, and like, I don't know how we missed each other, whatever. So that was kind of the thing, yeah. So anyways, I get back from Argentina, and I was like, well, let's meet down the street, get some pizza and some beer, and we'll talk about it. So I was like, okay, so I got this idea for a band, and I want to do like an oi band, but I want to do like fun oi, like, you know, like not like I'm upset oi, like just, you know, Judah, you know, but it was like kind of like that, you know, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, we're not breaking shit yet. Anyways, and I had the name, it was Fancy FC, you know, like, because I'm a big football fan, and
okay,
FC was going to be like fancy fucking cunts. So it was like, cool, the whole name, yeah. And I told Perry that, and he's like, no, man, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to play like Happy Oi. It's like, all right, what do you want to do? He's like,
I don't want to play Happy Oi. I'm good.
Yeah. I was like, fair, you know. So, anyways, yeah, he's like, I'm gonna put together like a death rock band, you know, and I like kind of more of the dark stuff. And I was like, cool. You know, I love all of that, you know, music, and big fans of post punk, but I never really fucked with it. I never really played that type of music. I even singing that way, like, it wasn't really in my wheelhouse. So, you know, and I was like, cool, man, I trust you. Like, you want to do it? Like, let's just do it. So
that's awesome.
We got George together in on it, and then the last piece was our guitar player. So we needed a guitar player, and kind of having trouble finding somebody that wanted to play that style of music within our scene, you know, because everybody thinks we're gonna, you know, just, I don't know what, like, look like Dave Vanian, but which is not a bad thing. But anyways, we're not gonna go eccentric. We just wanted to play this like kind of different sound. So it was a hard sell, and Perry he's like, I'll put up an Instagram ad. And so he did on his page. It was like, we're looking for a guitar player. And we didn't get very many responses, but he had told me that Rico, who was in CLIT45, who also plays in the Fiends, who's also like my, you know, non-biological brother I talk to 3-4 times a week. And we've been in several bands together. So I was like, okay, like, anybody but Rico, because we've already been in like so many bands together. He's like, well, dude, Rico's the only one that responded, man. I was like, fuck. All right, well, I guess it's Rico. And then Rico came on, and we just kind of gelled, the four of us, and started writing some really cool stuff. And eventually after that, we found Matt, who came through a friend of Perry, which was kind of cool because we were playing the show as a 4-piece, and Matt came to the show to check us out. And by the time I met Matt, it was like kind of half in the bag, and Perry's like, "Oh yeah, this is Matt," and I was like, "Wait, this is someone's taller than Perry? Like, this is weird." So, and he just fit so perfectly with the band, and it's been really great. Like the learning process for myself, and the writing process has been like totally amazing. So,
dude, I got to tell you, man, when because I got linked up with you guys through Perry. He hit me up. I think he saw a video that I had made that like mentioned Templars, and it was just like, "Yo, that's cool, man. Thanks." And I was like, "Dude, that's rad." I was like surprised that he, I'm usually the one hitting up the musician, so it was cool to hear somebody talk to me. And and then I don't remember even how like label stuff got in the mix, but he was like, "Oh, that's a good idea," and I was like, "What?" Yeah, sure. I was like, I mean, I'm down, but like that's odd. And then he tells me who all was involved, and I was like, "Oh, I would love to be involved with this." And then when I talked to you and you were telling me you were singing, I was like, I wonder what this is going to sound like. I was so curious when you finally sent me some music. You're like, "Here, I got some tracks for you to hear." Yeah. And I was already on board regardless, because I like you guys. It's just people. I want to help like-minded people, right? But I was like, I really hope this is rad. And I got my wife in here to listen to it for the first time, and I cranked it up real loud. And I was like, all right. And she's like, have you heard this? And I was like, I haven't. And she was like, oh, wow. And I hit play. And like halfway through the first track, I paused it, and I like looked at her. And I was like, I think this is like really good. Yeah. And she's like, I like it. And my wife's kind of a normie type, right? So she likes some punk stuff, but she's not from our world necessarily, right? Yeah. And so I was gauging like her feedback was going to be really important to me. And she was like dancing around too. I was like, hell yes. And so I'm just happy that you're doing it, man. It's so rad. It's such good music. It's
we're really proud of it. And like a lot of I've had a lot of other bands besides the Fiends, CLIT, and Before Dawn, and sometimes with it, especially like in our type of music or any sort of, I guess, rock and roll music, it like it can veer off in weird directions. Like I've been in some weird, like some bands that are really good. Like we wrote great songs, but we just could not get out of the room because like there was just too much partying or whatever else. Was just like
that was my problem.
Happened. Yeah, it just never like happened. But with Before Dawn and the Fiends, like what I do really love about that is there's just a level of like brotherhood and professionalism to it. Like, of course, we all like to have fun, but that aspect of it, we're not, I guess you get to a point in your career, your life, as know that you are, that like we don't necessarily do this or into punk for like our health. You know what I mean? Right. It's not like, oh, this is like the best life choice I can make. Like it's not, but it's like it's what you believe in and it's what you make of it, And so having that reciprocated is really nice.
Right. No, that's very important, especially when you're having a musical project with people, to have everybody kind of feeling the same and on the same page is very, very important. And whatever the goals are, but those goals aren't going to get met regardless of size if you're not all on the same page. It's like, I feel like we're lucky that we got to the age we got to. I'm sure you've lost a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of friends and family. And so I think what happens is we get to this age, and I'm 42, and like, and we it's funny, we share a birthday. Something we talk about how weird that is, because I've never met anybody that had our birthday, dude. Like nobody. And even people always ask me about my number 31. I'm like, dude, it's even in my birthday, bro. 0310. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, dude. Like it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, bro. It's weird, huh?
Got it. I already know. So that's kind of like my thing,
dude.
Too,
my kid pointed that out to me. He's like, it's your birthday. Yeah, it's rad. But like, I feel like it's a calling. Like I just feel like there's this gravitational pull to do this. I can't work for somebody else anymore, man. I don't need to make a bunch of money. I just need to pay my rent, dude. All I want to do is feed my kids. I don't need no extravagant lifestyle. I don't want it. I never wanted that. So my goals are much more realistic and low. I'm sick of working for people. They don't like you. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything but themselves. And so I think it's just this like pool. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, what do I want to do today? Something for my community. that's
Yeah.
what I want to do, and this is
Yeah.
my community. So yeah,
But it's there's also the thing too, right? It's even when I was younger with Clit, like I wrote songs about that. I wrote songs, Breakout. That's the same thing. It's about we choose our own future. Just Exist is about not sitting around and like waiting for things to happen, because that's your life is just gonna fade away at that point.
right.
And
I mean, dude,
I knew that when I was 21. Like and I know that now. But I think too, like at the end of the day, like it's not for everybody to be able to work for yourself and things like that. But I do think that, like, if there's anything that I've ever written about, especially with CLIT45, is about empowerment and self-empowerment, and believing that you can do it. You just have to believe that you can. Like the biggest hurdle in your life is you thinking that you can't do something. And I think,
dude.
like look at me, right? Like I always tell everybody this, and like even in the days of Clit, we'd be in front of 5,000 people and shit like that. But I don't give a fuck. And like I'd be like, hey, look, nothing separates me between me and you besides that I'm holding a microphone and you're not, because I had the balls to get up there, but I'm gonna go home alone too.
Man,
So
getting
like
on stage was
you
scary.
do this shit, you just gotta believe in yourself, and like that's it. And like I think like people like yourself that are really kind of driving forward and supporting the scene in like a way that a lot of us don't have resources for, as far as like the artists. It's there's so many good bands out there right now that are not being heard, and so many like good songs that the world needs to hear, but people just don't know how to get it out there. And without people like you doing all that like hard work behind the scenes to like get us on that stage, like that needs to be there, and I appreciate that.
Oh man, that is very humbling, man. People. So this is weird, man. I don't want to talk too much. I want to let you have the floor. But somebody the other day was like, "How do you put out an album?" And I was like, "You just kind of do it." And they're like, "Well, isn't it expensive?" And I was like, to a degree, yeah, it's expensive. I mean, and they're like, "So what do you just like have money?" I was like, "Hell no, dude. I grew up poor, bro. Like poor. I didn't have money. I still don't have money.
Yeah.
All my money goes to like my family and did my business. I don't have money. Like I'm living on credit cards so that I could do this stuff. It just depends. Like, do you want to do it? Do you want to put in the work? Because I don't want to die and be like, man, if only I had just spent $2-3 grand, I could have done some really great stuff and leave my kids with somebody to be proud of. But instead, I'm over here worried about a little bit of money. Like, you just have to do it. It's scary, but
yeah, it is. But it's all, but it's relative too. You know what I mean? Like, so you could spend, you could be like, okay, I'm not gonna put out records or whatever, and I'm gonna take my family to vacation at Cabo Wabo or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? And like that's cool, and I'm sure that you're gonna have time to do those things. But I think like it's more of a statement. And I think with anybody, any of your resources that you have, right? Like you choose what you spend your money on, and like you can choose to spend your money on like going to fancy dinners, or like going to Six Flags, or like I want to be courtside to the Lakers,
right.
Or you could be like, no, I want to do something that's gonna fucking change the world and send a message, and I'm saying this is what I am about. You know what I mean? And like I would rather spend the $2 grand than on like putting out a fucking cool band so everybody is gonna listen to that for the rest for all time.
Dude, thank you.
And be like, oh cool, I'm be courtside at the Houston Rockets, and they're gonna lose fucking interest. You know what I mean? Like
that's also true. We're not winning anything, but like it's funny because within my, I write everything down. So like within my little piece of paper with my budget on there, I do have something for like taking the family somewhere, but that's like the only thing that matters to me outside of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I don't want to go to sure as hell don't want to go to a fancy restaurant. I can just make my own food at home.
What's your like go-to? I'm a chef, so what's your like go-to dish?
I make a lot of steaks because I'm on a pretty strict diet.
I gotta come over.
Oh, bro, I can cook a pretty good steak. If you're a chef, I'd be terribly intimidated. But
I'm surprised you didn't know that about me,
dude. I don't know anything about anybody, bro. There's so much shit that I like heard and I heard it in passing. I think we've even talked about it, honestly. Now that you mention it,
I don't think I've ever mentioned it. Yeah,
no, it might have been Perry. I know I've heard that before.
Yeah,
but my dad was a chef, and like so I was around cooking as a young boy.
Yeah.
And he was he was other
My
things
penchant
before
for
that.
hard living, that's just what it is. So
Well, like I don't know, man. Cooking at home's not even that hard. It's just like anything else, man. It's just practice. Like the
yeah.
first 10 steaks that I made, they weren't that good. I can remember them not being that good.
Hey,
But like now, I can
first
make
10
one.
shows I played weren't very good either. So
You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah. What are your favorite things to cook?
my favorite things to cook. I mean, that's a pretty big question. Let's see. Well, I was trained by very angry Italians, so yeah. That I mean, I'm kind of the
So
result of that.
tacos, right?
Yeah, I can do pretty much anything. I would say I love I was a pretty plant-based chef
Okay.
for a while, known for that. So I love all that cookery, and which was really funny because I never loved like cooking or just fell into it after
Okay.
and broke up, and then I needed money, so I ended up going to
Interesting.
free college down the street, and I was going to be a cosmetologist, but I was so hungover that I couldn't make it to cosmetology school day, and so yeah, like the next thing down on the, I was like, it's like COC is like culinary. I was like, fuck it, I'll just do that. Fuck it, like,
Dude, that's hilarious.
16 years
Hey.
later, here I am, like,
Hey, man.
own a fucking catering company. I teach cooking classes, like all that shit. Like
That's right. I knew you did the catering company thing. We did talk about that on the phone. That's
Yeah.
right. I knew you told me that.
Yeah.
I mean, the universe points you in a direction, and if you're wise enough, you'll see that, and you'll
Yeah.
take the advice. You'll go, oh, that makes sense. Like, I mean, even now, if I needed to go get a job, I would
Yeah.
just go back to waiting tables. It's not the most glamorous job.
No.
It's what I'm good at, though, man. Like I'm good at it because I like talking to people, and so.
Yeah.
That's what I excel in, and I was able to make a really good salary doing that. And not everybody can, not everybody wants to. It's definitely hard. My knees still hurt from that shit.
I know.
But that's awesome, man. So so we got this EP we're working on here, right?
Yeah.
5 tracks.
Yeah.
We're gonna do. Can we talk about this? Is okay?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So we're doing 12-inch single-sided EP. What are the goals for the band in the next say 12 months? So if we can get that going, let's say the end of January.
Yeah.
What is the first half of 2025 look like for you guys?
So for us, the plan is that we were sitting on a lot of songs. So
Nice.
Yeah, there's that part of it. With the EP, we really kind of strategically put some songs on, left some songs off, because just the flow of the album was really important. And then
Sure.
Yeah, and then I think what we all really love the demo that we put out, that first one. Now let me move this. It's gonna get weird, but anyways, but we progressed musically, from that point, and bringing on Matt was a game changer because he's such like a good guitar player. He's also a Rubella Ballet, it's a Cross Records band.
Okay.
And then also Real Mackenzie's for a little bit.
I love that band.
Yeah. So, but the way he works with Rico, their guitar sounds are so like fluid, even though they're kind of different guitar players. So, kind of exploring that a little bit. So next year, I think we have a really awesome show coming up. Let's see, December, I want to say 11th.
Okay.
And that's with 2 of my favorite bands that are around right now. Besides Brazen Bull, Bones' band. It's really good.
Writing that down. So what are these bands that you're playing with?
So Homefront from Edmonton.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. So those are old homies of mine. Yeah. Like Grandma.
Really?
Yeah. Grandma I've known for 20 years from
awesome.
When he was a Wednesday Night Heroes.
Oh, okay.
House then. So it's amazing guy, and I'm so happy how well they're doing. And then
dude, they're blowing up.
Long Knife is the other band, which those guys are like my brothers. So Colin, who was also in the Riffs and a bunch of other bands, and Scotty Goto, who is in Long Knife, was in CLIT45 for a couple of tours towards the end. So that's going to be really fun. So that's kind of on our radar. We're playing in LA in 2 days with my favorite band from LA, the Affy, and then but after that, we're going to take some time to just keep on writing. and then next year, just really looking to kind of hopefully get our debut LP out before the end of the summer, and then just kind of touring, like
That's
maybe
awesome.
shorter stuff, like looking to go to Europe in the summer.
Yeah. Oh, you guys would do really well in Europe, I think.
Yeah, like kind of like the Fiends. We just got back from New York last week, I think it was. Yes, and it was amazing. So Fiends are working on a new record as well. We're going to Japan in May, so that's going to be
crazy,
awesome.
Bro. I'm
And
happy for you. It's
but
awesome.
it was really cool being out there. New York has changed a lot, but we got a really good response from a Fierce City festival that we played. So same thing with Before Dawn, just kind of trying to hop around, like go play New York for a bit or go up the coast. Maybe we'll come to Houston,
Bro, that would be so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I would love once the record's out just to come out to Texas and do some shows. You can showcase us and show us.
I am 100% certain that I can make some stuff happen, dude. I probably can help out in at least Austin and Houston, maybe San Antonio.
Yeah.
I got a lot of friends too, especially in Texas because I've been here my whole life. But I'm going to Austin to see. I almost said Before Dawn, but to see Homefront in December 6th. Cool. Bro, I cannot wait for that show, man. It's gonna be a good one.
I don't know. I don't know. Long Knife might be with them on that one. I'm not really sure, but you got to check them out too.
I do it. I'll be taking notes during these podcasts. I always like to find out new artists to listen to. So, new people to feature on the channel too. I mean, I want to have. I want to keep bringing other artists because that's what I get the most common comment that like makes my day is, "Yo, you got me so many bands I never heard before." I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, bro. Yeah. Like, and that could be old bands too. Like I'm doing a thing right now on 1977 because I never listened to that music until now. I just never cared for it.
Music?
Yeah, bro. I never cared about it. Like that old classic. Because like, okay,
I don't. That's not weird, but yeah.
No, it's weird, but there's a reason why. There's a reason why it happened. I was, born. I'll give you the really quick version. Born in Houston, didn't have any family that listened to music. It's very fortunate I even found punk rock. And so when I did, I found what I liked. I liked it. I gravitated towards it, and I never looked behind me. And then the one time I was interested in it, I went and bought the Sex Pistols, and then I asked for the Clash stuff, and the freaking dildo behind the counter gave me London Calling and Combat Rock. And so I just heard it. I was like, oh, this is what I want. And I never liked like the Damned. I was never a fan of. I am now, but like, it's interesting. I'm just doing it all in reverse. And, so
I mean, that's how it is though too. I have a similar story. My dad was a preacher, so I grew up in the church and we weren't allowed to, listen to.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
But I know fault they were on. It was the 80s, so they didn't really know any better. But anyways, I remember like going to like it was like I don't remember the name of the store. It's like the Warehouse was like where you would get like tapes from or something. Okay. And I got like the Nevermind the Bullocks and Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables.
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember listening to them, and I like could not for the life of me tell the difference between John Biafra and like Johnny Rock. Like it just sounds like the same band.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but there was a place in Long Beach, like legendary record store called Zed Records, that was there, since the beginning, like early 80s. And I used to ditch high school. lived in Long Beach, so I would ditch high school and I would go to Zed Records because Zed, who's the owner, like if you look up like Zed Records, like YouTube videos, it's like, this is Zed Records and we have Black Flag Records. Like, it's like the Dickies. Like, it's like super awesome.
That is awesome.
And I had no idea what Zed Records was. I was just walking, like ditching school. I was like, fucking hate high school. And I see this record store. I was like, oh, hey, that looks like punk. So, yeah. And Zed, the owner, was a big hockey fan. And I played hockey when I was in high school.
Cool.
Yeah, so I just hang out and talk about the Kings, and he'd show me records and shit like that. So
that's rad. Yeah, I wish I had somebody like that for me, man. I did. I got really fortunate, and you can tell a lot of what I like based on this one experience. When I was like probably 14 or so, maybe 15, right before I started listening to stuff on my own, I was skateboarding.
Yeah.
And my friend's stepbrother was like 3 years older than us, and he's like, what's up, nerds or whatever? And I'm like, hey, and he's like, hey, man, you listen to any good music yet? And I was like, I don't know. And I think I had like an Aerosmith tape or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
On a Walkman. And he gives me a cassette.
But at that time, Aerosmith wasn't that bad though.
No, dude, I still rock, Pump, Get a Grip. Old Aerosmith too, like real old stuff too. whatever. It's just rock and roll, man. But
Yeah.
this stuff, he gave me a cassette tape, but it wasn't even labeled. I think it just said
Yeah.
like cool mix or something on it. And come to find out, what it was it was really, really old Less Than Jake. It was Operation Ivy, the Queers, and Mr.
Yeah.
T Experience. And if you think about that, and then you think about all the stuff I like now, it's like, oh, well, obviously you got introduced to this through like a Ramones, Corey, ska punk, avenue, because that's the stuff I still listen to today, in addition to 77 style stuff, which is why I'm so ecstatic about all these bands. I'm like, I just now listened to the Boys and the Vibrators for the first time, 3 days ago, and I'm obsessed with those bands.
Well, that's there's so many good, like genres of punk rock, and I it never gets old for me, at least. Like I was there's another band called from LA called Dead City Punks, but they pretty big band. But they also have another band called Death Gang and Kira, mostly like East LA kind of South LA bands, whatever. Anyways, we all practiced at the same the Fiends. We all practiced at the same place in downtown called Downtown Rehearsals. It's a huge building, and there's every fucking band is there in LA, and some people live there as like tweakers and all this crazy shit. But
sounds like Houston. We have one of those too.
Yeah. So and then I was there. We had Fiends practice. We only practiced for like a half hour or an hour because we had to go. And I was like, "Fuck, I want to sing!" And some of the guys from Dead City, their friends, who were like, "Oh, we're just gonna go up and jam. We don't have a singer." And I was like, "Fuck it, I'll come with you." Like, what you guys sound? I was like, Discharge. I was like, awesome.
That is awesome.
Went upstairs, we just fucking rocked it. Like, it's cool. And but in that sense, there's always so much part of this music that is beautiful about it. And I'll never forget. The way that I got into punk rock punk rock music was really funny. I was at my cousin's house. I think I was about 11, and his father was also a preacher. So we went to his church, and then after church, we were in his room, and he closed the door. He's like, "Dave, I gotta show you something." And I was like, "What?" Like, Steven, what is this? He's like my best friend. He's like, "I'll play you this thing, man. It's called punk rock." I was like,
"Let's go!"
Like, what? Like, okay. So puts a tape in the fucking tape machine and is plays push plays DI pervert nurse is like, "You're in the hospital, and you're hurt." And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to hell for listening to this." Yes. Game over. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I was literally going to ask you that question. That's funny you said that. Dude, everybody's punk rock origin story.
Yeah, even with Up Ivy, that band to me is just legendary. I remember, just being a young kid in the scene and not really having friends and just going to shows by myself and stuff. It was really violent, like I said, but Unity, that song and
yeah, bro,
just that the way they spoke about the scene, it was it never left me. I always appreciated that.
It sounds like you're there, the way he talks about stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I was at that show. You're like, wait a minute, no, I wasn't. That was 1986.
Yeah.
I was 4. But if all goes well, I'll be hanging out with that dude on Friday and
cool.
getting some cool stories. But yeah, I was gonna ask you exactly how you got into punk, and that was right before I said it, you were like, oh, it's weird how I got into punk. I was like,
yeah.
Dude, that's a great story though. I love hearing how people discovered the music for the first time. Mine was on a school bus. It was No Effects. I Heard They Suck Live.
Yeah,
that's the first thing that I got that I was I knew it was a punk band, and I was like, what is it? My friend's like, here, listen to this. And it's funny because the guy that let me have that is the guy that did all the engineering for the record I'm fixing to put out.
Oh, crazy!
All these years later, I still see that guy. Yeah. And I was like, dude,
small world, man.
Yeah, man. It's a very small world.
Yeah.
All right, we still got a few minutes. I don't want to keep you all afternoon. Let's talk about some fun things before we get out of here, man. So,
cool. I love fun.
If it's not too much pressure, some people can't recall this stuff off the top of their head. But what are some of your favorite bands of all time? And then what are a couple of modern bands that you're really jamming right now?
Okay, let's see. Favorite bands of all time. I would say I always have to go back to Velvet Underground. That's probably if not my favorite band, one of my favorite bands, just because it is a seminal influence on me. Lou Reed, particularly when I was, in the CLIT days, and the things that he spoke about, and just talking real language. And he couldn't sing either, so I was like, well, that guy can't sing. I can't sing. Cool, that adolescence, I would say, Bad Religion, 100%. Let's see what else. New bands. I mean, newer bands. There's so many. I love a band called American Nightmare from Boston.
Wait, like the hardcore band?
Yeah, love that band.
Did they change the name to Give Up the Ghost for a while, and then went back to
Give Up the Ghost.
That band rules, dude. I love that band.
Amazing. And like Wes, the singer I used to know him back in the days.
That's his name, Wes. Yeah, dude, that band's rad. I saw them a while back.
That band from Canada.
You said Fucked Up?
Yeah.
Bro, let's go, dude.
Fucking rule. Like, that band's amazing.
You got some eclectic taste, man. I like it.
Yeah, I try to, get in that. But, I listen to a lot of world music too. I love Tanarwin, which is a North African rock band.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they're like, dude, they like combine like Buddy Holly guitar with like indigenous music from Northern Africa.
Do you happen to know how to spell that?
Yeah, Tinarwen is Tinarwen.
Bet. I'm gonna check that out for sure.
Yeah, so they're great. And then, even like bands that are around like now, like I said, really into Long Knife is amazing. Happy the Riffs are getting back together and playing, but that's not a newer band. The Affy from LA, that's probably,
I don't think I've heard them either.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Anyways, that's my best mate's band, but they're more along the lines like Britpop, but like
I like that
type stuff like that. I really support them. There's a band called the Night Times I like from New York. I know I'm missing some. Bullshit Detectors, fucking amazing.
Bro. They're so good.
Yeah, we played with them in San Diego with Brazen Bull.
Nice.
That show was ripping, and
I bet it was.
I knew they were going to be good. I knew that Bullshit Detector was going to be good, but I didn't know they're going to be that good. Like they're amazing, man. Yeah.
I hate to sound like a fanboy because like Richard's one of my good friends. I've known the guy for a very long time, but like I told him this, and this is probably why he's letting me do it. But I told him like, man, I appreciate you letting me put this record out because I like it. Like I like the band. Like there's a handful of bands that I really want to work with, and I may never get to, but like some of them are like my best friends' bands. Like I would love to put a record out for Liberty and Justice. They're already to a point now to where they're pretty big. I don't know if they'll, I don't know what their needs are, but like that's like I like the music. So yeah, that was probably an awesome show. You talk about you played with Before Dawn and
yeah, so Before Dawn, San Diego's Before Dawn, Brazen Bull, and also Bullshit Detector played, and then we played with sorry, I was gonna move this. We played with Soft Kill, which is another really cool band that we love. We played with them, and then the guys from Bullshit Detector were playing in another band that I don't remember the name, but we're filling in at that point. And
it was either Liberty and Justice or Concrete Elite.
Maybe a Concrete Elite, yeah. And then also Baton Armée, that band's amazing.
Oh, bro, yes, they're so good. Have you heard of Reeks?
Really? Yeah,
that band's dude. All that stuff coming out of French right now is blowing me away. That's how my channel got. My channel got a big bump because of that.
The first time they were in LA, Reeks, they played this like record shop downtown, but next to where we practiced, and like it was fucking packed. And I was there, and it's like, oh, check this band out. And then like they started playing, and someone like lit a fucking like, I don't know, like poured gasoline on the floor. It's like and everyone's like, evacuate! Everyone like runs out. Dude. And they're like, "What the hell is going on?" It's like that's crazy. Yeah, it was gonna explode. Like it was legit. I think someone was like huffing nitrous or something. It was like
people are other minds, dude. I went and saw. Have you heard the band called the Slads out of Philly?
I have.
It might be Pittsburgh. It's either Pittsburgh or Philly. I can't remember. It might be Pittsburgh. Yeah, dude, they're so good, bro. They are so good. And then there's No Time. They've been around a while.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah,
they're really good too.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's right now. I would say is more active. Like there's so many.
Punk rock's very healthy right now.
Yeah,
very healthy.
Yeah, and like even politically, like we're in such a weird place right now,
bro.
that there's reasons to have like bands like we do,
Dude.
and there's
Yes.
reasons not to. Like,
Well, I just talked to a guy about that. I was like, hey man,
yeah,
look, like I said, look, dude, yeah, we're in a bad spot right now. I was like, but when does the best music come about?
yeah, of course,
When we have like turds like George Bush in office, like
yeah,
that's when the best music comes about. It's like, so silver lining. I mean, I'd rather have like no good music and just the world be a better place, obviously.
yeah,
But if we're gonna be in a weird slump, then
yeah. But honestly, like it's sort of myself is like, not like if punk rockers, if we don't like express these messages about realism in the world, who's gonna do it? You know what I mean? Britney fucking Spears, or I don't even know who fucking popular music is now. Like, who's gonna say it? No one's gonna say it, right? Like, that's kind of our responsibility about it. And which I think that's an important thing. And like, all of us, like, punk rock we're really lucky to have each other as a community, but there's an aspect to it that like we have to speak out against things that aren't right.
we have a responsibility, is what it
Yeah,
is. I mean, we're
yeah,
the
yeah,
ones that are pissed. We're the ones that have the. Here's the thing: is a lot of people don't have. I don't know what to call it. I don't want to call it courage, but it kind of is in that same
yeah, yeah,
area.
yeah.
It's
Of
like
course.
to stand up and go, nah, bro, I'm not going to do this. Like,
Yeah,
you know what that comes from, bro? Is that probably comes from you growing up in a religious household? Because that's what I had that too. And my mom always got crap for being in the church, and I
yeah,
think just being around that, I'm like okay, getting picked on. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll go this direction because I feel very comfortable there. That's my people. I feel connected to
yeah,
punk rockers. You know what I'm saying? Like this scene I feel connected. I never felt at home unless I was
yeah.
in a show. If I was at a show
Well, I mean,
somewhere,
I think that even like in any opinion, right? Like, or any view, that if you want to be heard, you need to listen. You know what I mean? And like that's just the reality of it. Like, yeah, I grew up in a religious family, but what it taught me less than being like silence is that you have to be able to understand other people's opinions, even though my opinion wasn't the same as my father's or my mother's or
right,
the preacher. Like, yeah, but you're still a good person at your core, right? You know what I mean?
right.
So that goes beyond everything. Like, even within division in the world or in the scene or anything like that, like that's sort of a point that like if you want peace, you have to live peace. If you want understanding, you have to live understanding. Like, that's a simple idea.
Yep.
And just kind of, I know we're short on time, but
No, that's all good.
yeah, just to kind of uh I guess sort of wrap up this part of it. We can go as long as you want, but anyways, I do want to speak on with the Before Dawn, the single that we just kind of released.
Absolutely, dude. Let's talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, Justice. Yeah. So
Dude, it's so good. So
thank
good.
you. Yeah, thank you. I mean, honestly, like when I got, the guys who wrote the song and they sent it to me, I was like, this is so good. I don't even know how am I gonna sing to this? Yeah. You get that kind of like imposter syndrome. I mean, I do.
No, dude. Singing for a band is scary. It's daunting,
Yeah.
bro. Like
Well,
you
of
get up
course,
there, you're like,
because
ugh.
everybody looks at you. They don't look at the fucking, drummer.
No,
So,
they probably prefer that too. They're like, no, I'm back here doing
yeah.
my thing, man. Like,
But in this band and the Fiends and even CLIT's, like, very talented people. So you want to bring to the table what you can, right? But with Justice, listening to that song, there's a really cool band I really admire called New Model Army. It's like a kind of a semi-political band from mid to the late 80s, punk band, but more folky, I guess you would say,
okay.
and probably influenced a lot of bands like folk punk bands that came after that. But the sound was really good, and they spoke a lot about what was going on in Ireland at the time with the IRA and in England and things like that. And I really love that. But when I heard the song, I was like, well, okay, this kind of reminds me of New Model Army, like the sound. And what really struck me with it when I was thinking about what to write about, it's like I'm not a political person that writes lyrics about politics. Like, I choose to live my politics rather than to speak about them, because I think that there's more social issues to deal with rather than like who's fighting what war and which president is going to suck again. But with that
I mean,
song,
yeah.
Yeah, so that song, I felt like a a calling and an obligation to be like, this has to be, about what's going on in Gaza. And Palestine, that's been a very close thing to my heart for a very long time. 10, 12 years. I had friends in Palestine, and going to visit there and things like that. And that doesn't mean to say that I don't have love for Israel or the Jewish people, because I do. Like plenty of my friends are, and I see in a view of just the problem is not the people. The problem is the situation of anything, right?
The government,
So
yeah, people in power.
wherever you stand on it, like I don't really agree with what is happening, but the whole message to the song is it's about the perspective of a child in Gaza, right? And
Mm.
like, or any war torn city, and you see like the bombs are dropping everywhere. There's bloods on the wall, and like no one cares. There's this voice that like you're screaming and you're asking for help, and the world doesn't do it. But that's not just in Gaza. That's all over the world. And like, yeah, that's not something I talk about, but like at some point, I have a voice. I want to use it in a positive way for these people that don't have a voice. In the end of it, yeah, it goes back to fight war or not wars. And like saying that isn't like a big statement like, oh, war is bad. Like we all know
Right.
war is bad. But my thing and the whole point of it is that like be careful who you trust, because any war, like there's no winning a war. It's just a transfer of power, right? From
Right.
one person to another. And then we all think like, oh, that's cool, we won. It's like, no, you didn't. You just got another fucking ruler to tell you what
Right.
to fucking do, you know? And so that song is more about like just looking at it through a different perspective. That's not ours, because we're sitting here in our 70-degree homes on our computers as children all around the world are suffering without food, without water, without direction. And like that just struck me in that way as a father, as a human being. It's something I had to talk about, and I hope that people really get that part about it.
Well, they will now. I'm gonna probably clip this out and put it on its own little video too. Make sure people hear you talk about that, because
Thank you.
it's absolutely. Here's the thing: people don't like to hear this stuff because then they have to think
Of
about it. And
course.
I get that,
I
man.
wish
I
I never
understand
had
that,
it. I wish I never had to hear it either.
right? And it's just like, but unfortunately, it's a reality, and I can't change everything, but I can
No.
definitely I can speak my part. I can stand up when I get an opportunity to. But if you don't say anything about it ever, it certainly will get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
and then also just talking about it will create opportunities for help. It may be something
100%. Yeah.
small. It may just be like a oh, I didn't think about that. I can send money to those people, or I can send food, clothing, whatever
Well, I
to
think I
somebody.
think it's a lot about conversation. I think
Yeah.
a lot of politics and social issues are about conversation. Like I personally, I'm an anarchist. I've never voted in my entire life. I didn't vote for class president. I didn't do any of that. I just don't believe in it. Like I believe in self-rule. I believe that like you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because you're afraid of consequences. But that's just me, man. I don't think that's for everybody. You know what I mean? Like you do what makes sense to you. But I do think that conversation is what's important. And like that's why we write these songs. That's why we listen to these songs. That's why when you hear, this band, you're like, oh fuck yeah, I feel that way.
Right.
Like, you remember that first time you heard that song and it just hit
Bro,
you like right here in your heart?
there's a bunch of songs like that are some of them are politically charged, some of them are about women, some of them are
Of
about
course, yeah, I know.
what. Yeah,
Descendants, Hope, you know what I mean?
bro,
Like I think
there's a
everybody
bunch of
is like,
songs.
yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, very much so. I definitely remember that. It's interesting. It's funny that we're talking about this because this has been on my mind a lot lately. Uh, we just had this election, and people vote, people don't vote. I don't. It's
Yeah.
none of my business. What I really don't understand is people, especially on the political left, that are like, man, I don't want to even talk to somebody that voted
Yeah.
conservative. And I'm
I
like,
mean,
what are
I
you
know.
talking about, bro? Like, if you don't have, I'm not going to write, you don't think I have friends that voted for Donald? I live in Texas, dude. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got family and friends. I'm not
Yeah.
going to write off those people because they think of a different person who could run it's a class war anyways, bro. We're all poor. So,
Yeah.
like, it's not going to,
100%.
so like, and from it's all about perspective. From my perspective, they're wrong. From their perspective, I'm wrong. from your perspective, they're both wrong for voting in general. Like it's just all about perspective. Like people
totally.
need
And
to like.
It's funny that you say that because I train in MMA and Kempo karate, and my sensei is this guy named Richard Mosquita, like from LA, and he trains celebrities and Will Smith and Brad Pitt and all these like people, and I've been training with him for 10 years. The dude runs a dojo in Echo Park and like legit like fucking for the community, man. Like he ain't there for the money. He's not there to like whatever cash out. It's just like this old school fucking gym where the kids in Echo Park, the Latino kids and everybody comes over and they just get healthy. And we were talking about this, exactly what we're talking about right now. And we were kind of laughing about it and within that system. And I was like, people have different views, right? Like what's right, what's wrong. And it's like, but if you're left or you're right, you know what I mean? Like that's your opinion. That's on you. But like, if you're a liberal and you like, well, if you believe this, then you're wrong. Like you can't believe in Trump or you can't believe in this and that and the other. You got to believe just like me. It's like, well,
it's very fascist.
Like them, dude. Like you're exactly
weird.
You're exactly like them. Like you want them to be like you. Like to be truly free is to be like, hey, look, we're different, and like we don't have to agree, but let me hear what you have to say, and I can agree with it or not. And I think that in a two-party system, it's just everybody just the system is designed to break us apart.
It very much is.
It's like I don't think that although I supported Free Palestine, I went to park in front of the dojo and someone put like fucking glue in the parking meter, like trying to pay the parking meter, and I was like, the fuck, dude, like someone get a $200 ticket, and my sensei was like, yeah, dude, there was like this, someone was mad and like they put glue in there and like I don't fucking know. It's like people, come on, man. Like
they direct their anger in the wrong places sometimes. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. But like, if you're never going to speak to anybody, you're only going to get your opinions reinforced. That's all going to turn into a bad thing at some point. So it would behoove us as, activists, as punks, as whatever you want to call it, to sit down and like at least listen for a minute. Now, if it gets to where it's just ridiculous, you should be an adult enough to understand when it's getting preposterous. If it's not to that point and it's just a conversation, listen. And if you don't lose friends and family over a vote, man, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Maybe some people disagree. And even if you disagree with that, I'm cool with that. Disagree with it, man. I'm not going to hate you because of that. It's wild.
There's, the Fiends single or video we have from our last record. The first song is called Hope, and there's a video that we did for that, right? And I love that song. It's very close to my heart. But I wrote that during the pandemic, and and I was by myself, just me and my Chihuahua, for months and months and months, like. And with George Floyd and LA was burning, it was, I haven't seen anything like this since the 92 riots, and there was curfew and you can't go out and it's just on fire. And like, it was crazy, man. Like it was crazy. And, anyways, let me move this. Like, sun in my fucking eyes. But I wrote a song. This song was kind of about that. But the premise of it is that like, we want so many things in our lives, right? We want there to be peace, and we want to be like left alone. But part of that is that you have to live that, like you can't live in a world of in a world of anger and then expect people to be cool to you, right? So if you listen to that song, at the end of it, the lyrics that I wrote to that was about that. It's like, let peace be shown so that peace can be grown, or you choose to burn on your throne, that's true. And that's just what it is. Like, you have to be that way. You have to like look and be like, okay, look, maybe I don't understand what's going on here on your side, but I'm going to listen. Or I'm just going to be this fucking asshole who thinks that I'm right all the time. And then that's just it. But then, then you burn just like the fucking busted down the street. And but I think that's what's cool about what we have with punk rock. Like we're, I always said this, like, we're not fucking below, we're above, we're high thinkers.
I agree with that.
And we should be that always. We have that standard to think above the norm. You know, where all these people are just like yelling at each other in a fucking Starbucks or Dunkin'
Dude,
Donuts.
straight up.
Like, come on,
Straight
man.
up.
Like, yeah.
Like, we're supposed to be the adults. We may not look like it, but we're supposed to behave like it. Well, I mean, life, in my opinion, at least in my experiences, has been about two things that have helped me out. I got to cook my kids' dinner here in a minute, so I'm going to get out of here. But, like, this has to be said, man. Life is about two things. It's about conversation and compromise. If you can't have a conversation and then compromise, you'll never get anywhere in your life, ever. And so, you know, I would just beg all my friends to just, like, take a deep breath. We're going to be okay. It may suck for a bit, but we'll be all right, man. And, like, use this as an opportunity to grow as a human. And I say this as in just today, right now, whatever. Not necessarily our, you know, political climate, just everything in general. Take a deep breath.
Yeah. We always have each other, right? We always have each other.
Yeah. If it's something you can't change, there's no reason to make it let it like completely control your life. So just, you know, move on. Look, I do have to go make dinner for my crazies. I just got a text from my daughter, so I got to go. Before one question though, this is my favorite question because it's always a different answer from every single person I talk to. If you could go on tour right now with any band, who would it be? Past, present, future, just whatever. Any band. Who would be like your dream tour?
I'm like not my band, but I'm
no. Your band's going on tour. You could take anybody with you. You could either be the opening act, or you could be the headlining act, or whatever. Or it could be your best friends. Who cares? Just who would you take with you on tour?
Oh, let's think. Who would I go on tour with right now? I would say the Riffs and Defiance.
Let's go. Let's go. That's a good answer.
Yeah, that's my final answer.
Hell yeah, I get a lot of different answers from that.
Just because those are my homies, and I know it'd be a good time. And I was like, you know, I don't know, like to Darwin.
Last thing I got to say, this man, this drops in 2 days, man. Shout out to Cake Eater from LA.
Yeah,
this comes out on my label. There's a link to my Bandcamp. Check these guys out. Support these dudes. They'll have copies on at their shows and on their tour, or whatever. There's a handful of them on my Bandcamp. Go check it out. It's not expensive. Support these local bands. They're doing their thing. Awesome, dude. Dave.
Can I do my last plug?
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right. I just want to say thank you so much. Yeah, Randall, awesome. Really looking forward to working with you, and mad respect to what you do with the scene.
I appreciate that.
Everybody out there listening, support this fucking guy.
Man, that's awesome, bro.
We need him to survive. Like that's just the fucking truth. Like we don't. This doesn't move on without people like Randall. So
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Check out Before Dawn. You know, we're gonna be releasing a record very soon. We got a lot of really fun stuff coming up next year. The Fiends are fucking fire. We're gonna have a new record coming out as well. CLIT45 is always a fucking riot. I have no idea who's playing in the band. We all hate each other. We might or may or not be there. We don't know. But thank you to Nacho Corrupted. If you're gonna be there, get your fucking tickets now because they're cheap.
Oh, dude, I need to figure that out because I do want to come out there.
Yeah, you gotta do it,
man. Yeah, man, I'll be doing some stuff around the Fiends music, and as soon as we get ideas of what we can do and when, I'll be putting the Before Dawn stuff up on the channel. So we'll have a lot of this stuff being talked about. So
awesome. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much, guys. Check these dudes out, man. Go support. Go to shows, please. Please go to fucking shows. Please stop sitting on your couch. Xbox is that cool.
I'll be there.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next Punk Rock Review podcast. Later, Dave.
Cheers.
Later, brother.